Welcome to the Bite Size Brilliance podcast. I'm your host, Dr. April Darley, and I want to let you in on a little guilty pleasure of mine. I will watch TV sometimes as a form of distraction, and I'm trying to get better at it because back in my 30s, I was in med school and I would study with the TV on, and my classmates were like, "How can you do that?" But they would go to the coffee shop and study with the music and all the traffic and the noise, and I would be like, "How can you do that?" So our brains are wired for what we like, but just to let you know, multitasking is not real from a neuroscience perspective. I was very sad when I learned that's the truth. What your brain does is rapidly task switch. So if you're watching the TV and trying to study, then your brain is switching back and forth, and it takes you on average about 25% longer to finish any task when your brain is doing rapid task switching. So, FYI, here's a little tip. If you want to maximize your time efficiency and you pride yourself on being a multitasker, that may be one of the things that you cut out. But getting back to TV, I watched the movie Hidden Figures and also the show Gilded Age. I'm a huge sucker for period pieces. And they had two different opposing concept messages that I want to talk about today. First off, if you haven't seen Hidden Figures, it's amazing. Also, I love to watch shows on NASA. And there was a point where they're trying to figure out the math to get the capsule back to Earth, the entry coordinates back to Earth. Katherine Johnson is the brilliant mind who looked at the problem in a slightly different way, because Kevin Costner's character, he was saying we need to invent new math. What we need to do has never been done before, and so we need to find a solution that has never been done before, a true visionary quandary. But the way they solved that problem was Catherine looked at this for months and months, and she finally said, what if it's not new math we need to do, but very old math? Getting back to basics. And it's a weird little thing, but the smarter you are, the more complicated you make things, because you've learned all these advanced strategies that sometimes you forget to go back and break things down into their most simplest form. And when she did that, everything came miraculously in flow. They got what they needed. The mission went off successful. And it wasn't by inventing something new necessarily, but they had to go back to a basic. Versus the Gilded Age, where the main character is trying to expand into new territory for building a railroad. And he's getting frustrated that these miners will not sell him land. Age-old quandary on that one too. And he ends up firing a very long-time advisor of his because he says, you can't get me where I need to go. All you're telling me about is problems, and you're not giving me solutions. This is also a visionary quandary, and it's important to use your discernment to see which category that you're in. Are you a creative thinker who has visionary characteristics, but you're trying to invent something so new that you're ignoring the basics? Or are you stuck in the basics, or surrounding yourself with people who are stuck in the basics and they can't help get you to the visionary space? Quite the dilemma. Two completely separate time periods, completely separate problems, but they're just different ends of the same spectrum. It's important to look at any issue that you have right now and to really think about this discernment of, am I stuck in habit, routine, and rigidity? And is that the thing that's keeping me from moving forward in an inventive or creative way? Or am I trying to be so creative that I'm completely ignoring really important foundational structure? And in business or entrepreneurship, you see this a lot. And it helps to have a team or a different perspective that you can bounce these ideas off of, and to have this level of self-awareness that you can really dig into the why of the path that you've chosen. Doesn't mean to say that that path is right or wrong, but is what you're doing helping you or harming you? And what do you need to do to switch into a pathway that's got more ease and flow to give you the results that you want? Little bit different, tiny mindset and habit switch. But if you're feeling stuck right now, think about the alternate pathways to get there. And the advice I recently gave one of my clients who's having trouble with forward momentum, feels stuck. She's trying to create this new program or this new process, and she keeps telling me, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to deliver it. And what I suggested is to get around this perfectionism, this procrastination. These are nervous system things. These are subconscious beliefs that we've created. And my bespoke brain system can help you uncover why with that. But if you just ask your subconscious brain a different question, because the question, how do I? It's a very linear kind of way. It gauges the prefrontal cortex, the logical brain, and your answer may not be logical. Your answer might be wildly creative, which is in a different area of your brain. But the how do I makes it seem like we want a system, a formula, a step by step. And when we don't have the A to Z step by step, it creates this panic or this anxiety inside of us, this frustration, because we want it, but we don't know how to get it. So we want to bypass that. And if you ask a question, which is what or why, it's going to engage pathways that are more in alignment with the subconscious or the creative piece of your brain that opens you up to possibility and creative problem solving. So instead of going, how do I create this program? I encouraged her to switch the question to, what are my options to create this program? What could I possibly do? What are some different ways I could deliver it? Why do I even want to do this program? All of these questions give you an escape route, give you a route that is outside of that linear or very logistic how. And you tap into that piece of you that suddenly is a daydreamer, is a creator, is a visionary, and can get so much stuff done when you give yourself permission to open up that intuitive or creative side. And often, how is not the question that gives you access to that pathway. It's what, who, where, or why. These questions can open up options that you shut down when you ask the question, how? By writing out options, my client was able to kind of relax, because your survival brain wants to know that you do have some kind of plan. And when you list all the options, then you're able to just start thinking about your preferences and these logistical details that do matter when you are creating something new. It's not that you don't have any system. It's not that you're stuck or lost necessarily, but it might be that the pathway you've chosen to get what you want, where you want, is not the pathway you need right now. And by shifting the mindset, shifting that self-awareness a tiny little bit is enough to get you forward momentum again, to break through that stuck feeling. And once you gain this momentum, then you can get back in the flow where things start falling into place again. And that is how you can use some discernment and to see, are you in a hidden figure situation where you're trying to be so creative that you're ignoring the basics? Or are you in a Gilded Age scenario where you're mired down in the basics and you're forgetting to be really creative or visionary? Interesting, right? So TV can teach us something. I am learning to use it sparingly instead of keeping it on all the time. I know I'm not perfect. I had this professor in med school who used to say, everyone is allowed two vices and sex and chocolate don't count. I gotta say, TV is one of mine. And I do try to keep it educational or entertaining, and that's the way I turn my brain off. So, cheers to the TV girlies out there. Enjoy your vices as long as they can be helpful and not harmful, everything in moderation. And think about this. Are you stuck in the basics? Are you too high in the clouds? And the best solution is discernment and that middle ground. Until next week, my friends, goodbye.